You know, there's nothing quite like a quarterback's first start. It's one of the most intense, high-pressure moments in all of sports. All eyes are on you, the lights are on, and there's absolutely nowhere to hide. Today, we're diving into the debut of freshman quarterback Devon Campbell and looking at how the first impression, the one the scoreboard tells you, can be completely and totally deceiving.
So really, what we're looking at here are two totally different stories, two competing narratives. On one side, you've got the cold, hard numbers, the stat line that makes for some pretty ugly headlines. But on the other side, well, that's the real story. That's the context, the experience, and the potential that those numbers just can't show you. So let's break them both down. All right, so let's get into the headline story first. This is the one you can't miss, the one that's all over the place. This is the narrative built from the brutal, kind of unavoidable statistics of the game. Just think about this number for a second. 4. That's how many interceptions Devon Campbell threw in his very first career start. I mean, at any level of football, that is just a brutal, brutal number. And if that wasn't bad enough, you've got this one, 0. That's right, 0 touchdowns. So you've got a ton of turnovers and no scores to balance it out. It's a quarterback's absolute nightmare. And well, here's the final nail in the coffin for that headline story. It all happened in a 41-0 beatdown against a top 11 team in the country. So yeah, these are the numbers that are going to fuel all the criticism. And look, on the surface, you can't really argue with them. So, wow, that's the gut punch, right? That's the easy takeaway. But you and I both know the most obvious conclusion is almost never the most interesting one, which makes you ask, is that really all there is to it? Okay, so now let's peel back that first layer. Let's look past those big, glaring mistakes. Because when you actually dig into the box score, you start to see some other numbers, and they tell a way more hopeful and honestly a much more interesting story. Okay, look at this. Even though they didn't get on the scoreboard, the offense wasn't just sitting there. Campbell threw for over 200 yards. The team had almost 300 total yards and 17 first downs. Now think about that. That means they were actually moving the ball, putting drives together against an elite top-tier defense. For a freshman, that's a huge deal. And this points to something really, really important. The issue here wasn't a lack of physical talent. He has the arm, he has the size. No, this was all about mental processing. He looked like exactly what he was, a super talented freshman getting a crash course on the biggest stage possible in real time. And that whole learning curve thing, that is the absolute key to understanding this whole situation. The real challenge for Campbell wasn't just playing a better team, it was adjusting to something totally new. Game speed. So, game speed, what does that even mean? It's basically the tiny razor-thin difference between knowing what you're supposed to do and being able to react fast enough to actually do it. It's that split-second processing. You can know the playbook inside and out, but if you can't make that decision before the pocket collapses, it doesn't matter. Just try to imagine the jump this kid just made. In high school, he was the guy. He was the playmaker, probably the best athlete on the field every single Friday night. But the FBS level, we're talking about the highest level of college football. That's a totally different planet. Because at this level, everything changes. Those passing windows, they go from being open for a full second to maybe a tenth of a second. The defenders, they're masters of disguise, making a safe throw look like an easy pick. And yeah, as those 4 interceptions showed us, every single little mistake gets punished. Instantly and brutally. And this is where we kind of have to shift our thinking about this game. You can't just see it as a loss. It wasn't just a failure, it was an education. A really, really painful, but priceless education. So how does a blowout loss become a tool? Well, first, he gets the film. He can now go back and analyze every single decision, good and bad. Second, he's got the experience. You can't simulate that kind of speed in practice. He had to feel it. And third, he now has a measuring stick. He knows what the absolute peak of the sport looks like and feels like. And that's the thing you just can't get any other way. You can't replicate that in practice. He now has this mental library of what works at the FBS level, what absolutely doesn't, and what it truly takes to succeed. That kind of feedback, man, that is pure gold for young players' development. So, okay, we've got these two clashing stories, right? The terrible stat line on one hand, and this super valuable learning experience on the other. And that puts the coaches and the whole program at a pretty interesting crossroads. So what do you do? After a game like that, do you stick with the freshman, trust the process, and let him work through the growing pains? Or do those struggles create so much pressure that you have to make a change right now?
Well, the coach, Don Ritchie, he was pretty blunt about it. He said, I'll put the best product on the field. He's not promising to be patient forever. He's promising to play the best guy. That sends a message not just to Campbell, but to the whole team. Nothing is given. You have to earn it every single week.
You know, it's so easy to just look at that 41-0 score and call it a bust, a failed debut. But the easy story is almost never the right one. It's much harder, but way more interesting to look at that tough start and wonder what could come next. Because that kind of brutal, humbling public failure, sometimes that's exactly what a great career is built on. It forces you to learn, to adapt, to get better. So the first chapter wasn't pretty, no doubt about it, but it just might be the most important one he ever writes.